All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are joining us from today. Welcome to our PolarConnect event. I am Janet Warburton. I'm with the Arctic Research Consortium of the United States. Myself and Judy Fonstock are working with ARCUS, are hosting this event. I am actually located in Anchorage, Alaska, and Judy is joining us from New Hampshire. Today, we are also joined by Elaine Krebs and the research team that is working on
I can't hear anybody, but hi.
on the
don't know if you guys can
IceCube.
hear us.
We can hear you, honeybees. We hear you. So I'm going to mute you in the meantime.
Yeah.
There we go. And if you do have technical difficulties as we're going along where you can't hear us or things like that, please use the chat feature and Judy and I will try to respond to that. Anyway, we're excited to be chatting with the team that's been working on the IceCube project this year, and our educator Elaine is going to tell us all about her experience being down there at South Pole in Antarctica. Today is January 18th, 2023. If you're in the northern hemisphere part of the world, well, it's a day ahead over there already in Antarctica. So we'll hear more about that in a moment. A few things before we get started. If you are joining us, we'd love to hear where you're joining us from and who's with you. So please, please put where you're from in the chat box and tell us where you're coming from and how many people are with you. Also, just a little bit about the PolarTREC program. Next slide. The PolarTREC program is funded by the National Science Foundation. We are in our last year of funding. Very sad moment, but we've been excited because over the last couple of decades, we've been hosting over 200 educators with research teams like IceCube in both the Arctic and Antarctica. PolarTREC is run by a nonprofit, the Arctic Research Consortium of the United States. And we have a lot of resources that we've developed over the years. And we have some other programs as well with ARCUS where we work with students. This program has been putting teachers with researchers in both polar regions, which is why Elaine will be sharing her experience today. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Elaine and she can introduce her team member with her. And online, I believe that her other team member is also showing up, but I'll find him. In the meantime, Elaine, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. It's Elaine. I think we're working on a slight delay coming in from the South Pole, but it's so good to see everyone. I'm like so happy to see so many faces. We're here at the South Pole, and it is not January 18th. It's actually January 19th at 7 a.m. So we got up really early for you guys. And I'm here with Justin, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Justin. I am a physicist. I am Justin. I'm a physicist spending a few weeks here at the South Pole. Elaine's been working with us. I work on one of the neutrino detectors down here, so IceCube. We went out and did some digging to dig up one of our detectors, and we're currently working on fixing that. But Elaine's been a huge help, so thank you for sending her.
Yes, so I know we're probably glitching. The way the internet works here is we only have internet when the satellites are above us. So everyone on station is also trying to use internet right now, but we'll do the best we can. All right. So here's the rest of our team. On the far left is Mark, and he's what we call a winter over, meaning he's going to be here all winter. So he will be here a total of a year to keep IceCube running. Then pictures me, and then the middle is Elisa, who's also a PhD student working on the ARA project with Justin, but at different universities. The fourth person is Hervoya, who's also a wind rover at the South Pole. And then you just met Justin.
I can't hear it.
Justin, just don't type in the chat here. Okay. So one of the questions I get a lot is, how did you even get here? So our first flight was from Los Angeles to Auckland, New Zealand, which is on the north side. Our second flight was from Auckland to Christchurch, New Zealand. The third one was from Christchurch, New Zealand to McMurdo Station on Antarctica, which is on the coast. And then our fourth flight was from McMurdo Station to the South Pole Station. So, like I said earlier, we have very limited internet connection. So it might help if everyone turns off their video, because that might help the internet on our side.
I do believe, I'm going to interrupt for a moment. I've turned everybody's video off and you're coming in better. So until the very end,
okay.
yeah, everybody just keep your videos off and keep your sound muted, and we'll try to preserve the bandwidth so we can hear Elaine. Go ahead.
Okay. Great, that helped. So I'll go over that again. These are our flights. How we got here. So I flew out of Los Angeles to Auckland, New Zealand, which is the northern part of New Zealand. Then we flew, that was about 13 hours. Then we flew again from Auckland to Christchurch on the same day. That was about 2 more hours. And then we flew again from, a couple days later, we flew from Christchurch to McMurdo Station, which is on the coast. And then we flew again a few days later from McMurdo Station here to the South Pole. So 4 flights, I think I counted like 35 hours or something like that of flying, but totally worth it. You can go to the next one. So I work at an air and space museum, so we need to also include this. These are the planes we flew on. They're called LC-130s. They're like C-130s, but they have skis on the bottom for our snowy runways. They're meant for cargo as well as people. So there's really just a bench on the side of the plane that you sit on, and then all your stuff is in the middle. But there's a picture there of the view out the window. And I think it was the most beautiful flight. So you can go to the next slide. So we arrived in McMurdo Station, which is in the Ross Sea, which is on the coast of Asia. And to keep everyone safe and healthy, they asked that all people going to the South Pole isolate for 5 days. But it was actually kind of amazing because we got to go outside. We did lots of hiking. I did some cross-country skiing, which was icy, but super fun. And McMurdo Station is one of the US stations that does a lot of environmental research. So people there are biologists, chemists, glaciologists, and they may be working in other areas around McMurdo Station. But I think when we were there, there was about 800 people working and living there at the time. All right, next slide. So we finally made it to South Pole Station. We had a 1-day delay, but we made it. And I absolutely love it here. I think it's so fun. McMurdo Station is a lot of different buildings. It's like its own little town. But South Pole Station, it's basically one long hallway, just 2 floors, one long hallway, everything you need. You don't even have to go outside if you didn't want to, or if you didn't have to. So the whole station is 60,000 square feet. I think right now there's about 140 of us. But it has indoor plumbing, we have heat, we have hot water, we have delicious food cooked every day. That picture is me and some people from my isolation pod here at the South Pole eating. I think, Justin, you made that picture too. I don't know. So it's been amazing. I even have my own room, and I actually have one of the bigger rooms here at South Pole Station. But yeah, it's everything you need, and it's super, super cool. All right, next one. Oh, I see a question from Nora. Have you tried standing in all the time zones? I did do that. Yes. The South Pole is where all the longitudinal lines meet on the Earth, and therefore all the time zones. And yes, you can run around all the time zones in like 10 seconds. It's very fun. So the weather here, it's cold, very cold. I know a lot of people are from Los Angeles, and it's colder than cold here. This morning I checked, it's -20 degrees, -40 with wind chill factor. And I did grow up in the Midwest, and they always would say it's the wind that makes you cold. And I think that's true here as well.
Yes.
Justin agrees. So luckily though, we have gear, right, that's meant for this. But yes, you can see even just standing outside, my whole like face is just covered in white, because the other thing is the wind here just blows snow. So it could be sunny, blue skies, but snow is just being blown in your face, and you get like icy eyelashes and hair and eyebrows. And if you have facial hair, that turns white as well. So it's funny to look at, but maybe not too comfortable. All right, you can show the next one that's related. So this is what we wear when we go outside. I'm a big fan of our coats. We call them Big Red. I have mine over here. Oh, here I can show you with some of my friends. But this is Big Red, our jacket, and you can see it in the picture. Super warm. It's made with down insulation, so it's super warm. We also have wind pants and boots and mittens, and you cover your face with like a scarf and hat and goggles and mittens. You just cover every part of your skin. And then you can see that pictures when I'm about to go outside. So underneath I wear wool layers and wool socks, and probably a fleece jacket too if it's really cold. So it's manageable. It's manageable, although I will say maybe after like 1 to 2 hours, your fingers and your toes still kind of start to get cold. So, oh, I see a bunch of questions. I've not seen a penguin. I have seen a seal. There are no animals at the South Pole though, just humans. Bathrooms are normal. It's just a toilet that you can flush. When you're outside, that's different. You actually have to pee into a bottle and take it with you. But yeah.
Can you see polar bears are only in the northern Arctic, not in Antarctica.
Yes, they are a North Pole animal, not a South Pole animal. Good question. So we eat in a place called the Galley. On the last slide, there's a picture of that. It's basically a cafeteria. The Galley is just what they call it, I think, in the Navy. And a lot of things are named after the Navy terms here. But the food is really, really good. A lot of people are asking about that. We have an excellent chef here, head chef. So we had like breakfast sandwiches this morning. I can't even remember what we had. What did we have last night? Curry, super good curry.
We had burgers for lunch yesterday.
We had hamburgers. One of my favorite meals, I think, has been we had pad thai one night. So we're doing just fine. Oh, I see so many questions. I'm so sorry. There's so many of them. All right, we're gonna keep going, and I'll try to find the common ones as we go.
And just a reminder to those that are posting questions and the team, we will post, we'll go through them. So don't worry about it, Elaine, just keep going and we'll get to them. Yeah.
All right, so the South Pole is super fun. I absolutely love it. We do work in the morning occasionally, but there's so many fun things to do here. There's a full-size gym with a basketball court. So we have played pickleball, but also there was a film festival this weekend. So we moved couches and chairs from like all over the station into the gym. And I think like, you can see that picture. I think that's the whole station.
Yeah, it was
pretty much there. Man, like everyone. There's a craft room with a sewing machine and like a bunch of tools. In addition to the gym, there's also actually 2 separate lounges you can watch movies in, always filled. The staff here built a sledding hill for New Year's. Super fun, very steep. I may or may not have rolled off my sled, but we're fine. And there's even a sauna, which is very popular, especially if you've been outside and you're all the way cold. Oh, that's a very popular spot as well. After dinner, heat up in the sauna before going to bed. Yeah. All right, next slide. We do also work though, you know, it is very fun, but like Justin mentioned, his research involves equipment that's actually been put into the ice. And then over the years, as snow blows in, all that equipment has gotten covered. So if that equipment breaks, we have to then dig out all that snow to find the equipment. I think my years in the Midwest trained me for shoveling. But you can see us in that hole down there. I think it was like 10 or 12 feet deep. It was over our heads. Like it was, we couldn't even throw the snow out of the hole at the end. So we had to build steps, and someone would shovel snow up to one step and then shovel it out to the next step and then out to the next step to get this equipment. And that is actually what Justin and Elisa are working on right now, are fixing all the circuits and the electronics inside that box right now. So you can see there's Elisa in the top corner. We plugged in some wires and they worked. So that was a good first step, but now there's a lot more troubleshooting they're all working on. So yeah, you can go to the next slide. So I'm here with the IceCube Neutrino Observatory. I wear my shirt. And Justin is here with the Askaryan radio array. But those projects work together. So they're both trying to study these super teeny tiny particles called neutrinos. And they're actually so small, we don't even know their mass. We can't weigh them. So there's some guesses and other ways to figure that out, but we really don't know for sure. They travel almost as fast as the speed of light, which means they're just going. They come from different events out in outer space, and they just fly. They're not really affected by other gravities or magnetic fields or anything. So when they hit the Earth, and if they do interact with something, they create this cone of light. So in the bottom picture, you can see the light that is created if this neutrino runs in with something here at the South Pole. And that light is important because it's basically like a map. So the light comes in like this, and we can say, oh, that means that neutrino came from this way. Or if it came sideways like this, right? We can reverse trace it back to figure out where that neutrino came from in space. And that can help us learn more about our universe and cosmic events and all the really cool stuff that happens really far away that we can't just fly to on the rocket. So super interesting. Do you want to add anything, Justin?
No, I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay. So yeah, these are two projects, IceCube, and we call it ARA for short because Askaryan radio array is very long. And IceCube is using light that we can see, so we call optical light, but Justin is using something called radio light or radio waves, which we cannot see. So his project is extra invisible, but it's still really cool. And they work together to find out this cool information. All right, next. So one of the cool things about the South Pole is there's so much science going on. It's a really kind of a mecca for astrophysics experiments and anyone studying space. And it's like this amazing science world where everyone is either helping support science or doing science, and it's fascinating. So I've gotten to meet some different research projects. They are very friendly and like to give tours. So there's the South Pole Telescope, which looks all the way out to like the very first light of our universe, like right after the Big Bang, when everything started expanding. So they're trying to look all the way at this light, all the way at the very edge, which is crazy far, but really cool. There's some meteorology experiments. So there are people here who look at the weather. Our atmosphere is thinner here at the South Pole. We actually only have 19% oxygen as compared to 21% at the rest of the world, most of the rest of the world. So what they do is they attach these sensors to these giant balloons inflated with helium. So that's me and the balloon, like it's bigger than me. And you just let it go and it goes all the way up into the stratosphere, which is the next layer of our atmosphere, and collects data all the way up, and then it drops somewhere. They pick it up, and we have some really cool data. So that is how we know that there's probably a storm coming in tonight, because of that data from the weather balloon. There's also people studying auroras. So you may have seen or even heard about the northern lights. Well, here we have southern lights. So there are people studying those because there's no people around in the winter. There's only the winter over, so you can get really clear images of those auroras. And then lastly, seismic activity. So things like earthquakes, ice quakes. There are a lot of people studying how the sound moves through the ice, or how they can collect data, because here at the South Pole, we're actually 9,000 feet above the surface of the Earth. So there's the surface, and then we have 9,000 feet of ice, and we're up here. So there's some really interesting experiments you can do, sending waves through the ice and measuring things like that. All right, next. Oh, that one is a picture of me in the Aurora camera, by the way, actually. That was pretty fun. It's dark because they're there to pick up like really fine points of light. So anyway. Yeah, that's all I wanted to share. I wanted to leave the rest of the time for questions, but before we do that, while the internet is still pretty good, I thought maybe we could take a little adventure, if that's okay with you guys. All right, so I'm gonna put on my big red jacket, and maybe we can show you Antarctica. I think the hood is necessary today. All right, so let's see if this works. Can you prop that door and then open it? Okay, so Here we actually use, they're legitimately freezer doors to keep the heat in. Okay, but here's the stuff.
Yeah, we lost you, Elaine. It got frozen, but we can kind of see outside.
We have an observation deck, and over there, building.
Yep, you're breaking up. There you go. We see your face now.
Okay, well, we can look out the window too. Okay, I'm not sure how much of that you saw. It's a
We
little
saw-
interesting here because there's so much science going on that the doors are meant to block out the Wi-Fi. So we don't get internet outside, but I hope you saw a little bit of it.
Yeah, we did see a little bit of it. We saw the flag and we saw, could see the buildings in the distance.
Okay. So it is beautiful out here, but all right. So Janet, do you want me to read questions or do you want to ask the questions for me?
I'll ask the questions because I've been watching them come through and there's some that are similar. You had already talked about that there are no seals at the South Pole. So I'm gonna let everybody that asked seal and also penguin questions to check out the PolarTREC website. There's a lot of journals, and I think that Elaine has already covered those in some of her journals as other people have. So we'll move on to, okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I've heard rumors that there are now penguins at McMurdo Station.
Yes.
So maybe on my way back, I might see a penguin, but I did see seals at McMurdo Station.
Nice. So yeah, there's a lot to see at McMurdo because they're by the ocean there. So there were some questions that came through earlier when you were talking about the South Pole Station. Somebody asked, "Do you have a swimming pool?"
No swimming pool. We actually have to conserve water here because even though there's tons of ice and we just melt it down for water, that takes a lot of energy. And here the South Pole Station is fueled by diesel. So some of it actually is driven across the continent to get here in these giant sleds of fuel. And some of it actually, when planes come in bringing people, they'll actually siphon off fuel and leave just enough for the plane to fly back. So fuel is very, very important here. So having a ton of water, warm water, is not very helpful to save that fuel. So.
Okay. So there was a question, I think people missed it earlier. Can you talk about how cold it is there? And related, it just came up, is it a longer or shorter day there?
Oh yeah, good question. It is very cold. Although for the South Pole, this is actually very nice weather. You can see the sun, that's good. But it's about -20 degrees this morning with -40 degrees wind chill Fahrenheit. But for me, as long as there's not a ton of wind, it's okay. It's manageable. We walk about a mile to IceCube and it's pretty good. I don't get cold on that walk, but when we were out digging, I did get cold, very cold. We were sitting in the snow for a long time. And the day here, it is currently summer. So the way the world is tilted, right now Antarctica faces the sun. So it's actually sunny 24/7. which has actually been the hardest part for me. I can't sleep here because it's always sunny. So you're watching a movie and it's like 11 p.m. and then you walk through the hallway and it's just sun shining in your face, and my body says, we're not tired. So that's been the hardest part, but a lot of people will put cardboard in the windows to pretend it's dark. But in a few months, the sun will actually set below the horizon, and then it will be dark completely for 6 months. So we get the sunshine, and I like that. Oh yes, and
Okay.
it's summer here because we're on the southern hemisphere. So it's winter in the northern hemisphere and southern on the southern half, or summer on the southern half of the world.
Okay, cool. And let's see. So we had a question about IceCube. Is IceCube online 24/7?
Yes, IceCube is. It gets tricky, again, I mentioned, because we only get internet when satellites are above us. And then once they go past the horizon and we don't see satellite, we don't get internet. But IceCube is able to stay connected because they need to send their data and their information back to researchers in the United States. So they have a little bit of special access, but like I can't just go on YouTube at any time. So yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Well, somebody's asked us a couple of questions. Maybe they're doing some research on professions. Can you tell them how much you make an hour? Actually, just talk about what you're doing there as an educator and how maybe someone like Justin gets involved in it.
Yeah, so I actually work at the California Science Center, which is a science museum in Los Angeles. So I do not work for IceCube or anyone here. I'm on something called a grant to come down here. But Justin, in his research, does work for ARA. So do you want to talk about how that works?
Yes, so I am a graduate student. I am working on my PhD in physics. I do get paid. It's not a lot, sadly, and I don't make any extra to come here. Coming here was just a special trip as part of my PhD. But from what I understand, the people that actually do get jobs here, they get paid pretty well. And if you consider the fact that they don't have to pay for their housing or their food, they've got a pretty nice setup here.
Yes. For every scientist that is here, there are 3 more people who help keep this place running. So cooks, plumbers, electricians. We have a great IT department who made this happen. So if you are interested in working in Antarctica, there are ways to do that, a lot of ways.
Okay. And let's see, how does the radio wave technique, how the radio wave technique applied to determine the direction of the shower axis? Is there only reverse direction creation is the only way? Is there only reverse? I don't know. I don't quite get that question. Maybe you two get that question.
So I kind of have a way to answer this.
Okay, great.
If anybody's seen, Top Gun or just any fighter jets, when a fighter jet breaks the speed of sound, you start to see that cone form around it. A similar thing happens with neutrinos when they fly through the ice. We get that cone that forms around it. Once we know the shape of the cone, we can figure out the direction that the neutrino came in, because it's just a fighter jet in that analogy. So if we can see the cone, we can figure out the direction of the fighter jet.
Okay. Hopefully that answers whoever posted that question. Somebody was asking, how's your postcard challenge going?
Pretty well, actually. I think I've ended up writing about 700 postcards. People know me as the crazy postcard lady because I'm writing them like during meals, during movie nights. And the people who run the post office are aware of my 700 postcards coming to you, hopefully soon. I have no idea how long it will take, but they will be mailed today.
That is cool. Okay. Did you bring those clothes and gear with you?
Good question. I brought a lot of clothes. So like my t-shirts and pajamas and my wool clothing that I wear underneath, I brought. But this red coat and my boots and mittens, that was all given to me in New Zealand. So the US has a huge warehouse with all of this gear that's extra, extra warm because most people don't need this much warmth all the time. So I'm kind of borrowing it right now. And then when I go back, I'll give it back. And then next year, someone else will take it and it'll keep them warm. So I brought, I would say, about 2/3 of my clothing.
That's pretty good. And then all the equipment that gets there for the station, do you want to talk a little bit, or for the science, how does it get there?
Yes, this is actually something super cool. So there's three ways, I guess, to get things here. To get to the continent, you can either fly it on an airplane, or you can send it on a cargo ship. So McMurdo Station is on the ocean, so you can send it on a cargo ship to McMurdo Station. Then from McMurdo Station, there's 2 ways to get it to the South Pole. You can either fly it again, if it's light enough, or there's something called the South Pole Traverse, or SPOT, that actually was just here. They left last week, and they drive across the continent, basically on like special tractors. They literally drive and pull sleds of stuff behind them. So IceCube has a lot of really, really big equipment that didn't fit on airplanes. So a lot of that comes on the South Pole Traverse. Same with fuel, because it's so heavy, the airplane's not gonna be able to take off. So they actually just drag it across the continent for about, I think they said 31 days it took them to go from McMurdo Station here by tractor.
That's crazy. And I just read that somebody just skied across the South Pole. Did you meet that person yet?
Actually, yes. There have been a couple solo skiers and a couple groups who have skied across the continent. What's kind of cool is the South Pole is visible out the window from our galley or our cafeteria. So when you're eating, you can be kind of nosy, see who's out there and what they're doing. But yes, we have seen some skiers, which they're just skiing, pulling their own sled of their tent, food, which is crazy. That sounds so difficult. I prefer flying here.
I'm sure you aren't the only one. Okay. Somebody was asking how many people are at the station there right now. And I guess kind of what's the lowest number and why, and what's the highest number?
So, well, the highest number for the station is 150. And we were at 148 last week. So we were almost full, but there are some additional housing units outside, but that's kind of cold. So I'm glad we are inside. But if there was some overflow, there is space for them with heat. The lowest number, so right now I think we're about 140, but that's going to start going down as the summer ends. And I think for the winter, there will be 40 people who stay, 40. Basically just essential people to keep this place running until next summer when it's warm enough to fly back. So a few cooks, a few plumbers, electricians, a doctor, and then like 1 or 2 scientists from each project to keep the projects running. So it's a very small staff, but talking to some people who have wintered, they said it's a really fun and close community too as well.
Cool. Okay, moving on down, how thick is the snow and ice?
So thick, yes. The current elevation of the South Pole is 9,360 feet, I believe. So I don't know what, almost 2 miles, I think, a little under 2 miles. I think it's 2.5 kilometers. I'm not sure what that is, other than almost 10,000 feet. So yeah, there's no way we're going to see the bottom. And it gets taller every year because more snow gets blown in. So different experiments, and even the South Pole itself, they have to dig out and raise up every year for the snow. Thank you.
Isn't it?
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. How many cosmic neutrino detections or discoveries have there been made by IceCube?
By IceCube, quite a handful. Let's say maybe around like 10 or so.
Yeah, so IceCube detects neutrinos every day, all the time, but it takes a little bit of while to analyze that data. So right now, our main job is not to be looking at all that data and all that information. Right now, our job is to fix the physical equipment while we're here. So then when we're back in the United States, we can still get that information. But it takes years of analyzing data and talking to other scientists and other experiments to really put together something we would call a discovery. But there have been some really cool discoveries in recent years. Actually, in November, a paper was just released that corroborated data with other experiments about a black hole in a nearby galaxy. So that's pretty cool.
There's a related question there's a related question up there that I wanted to answer. Somebody asked how many neutrinos are there in the whole world. It's quite a lot, actually. Right now, you have trillions of neutrinos flying through you every second. It's just they don't like interacting with things, so that makes them very hard to detect, and not many are going to interact with you personally throughout your life.
Yeah, they're going so fast, they're just flying through you right now. You don't even know it. There are some neutrinos that come off the sun that are just always hitting us. IceCube is interested in the neutrinos from very, very far away, like black holes and other cosmic events. But yeah, we can't even count them. There's billions of trillions running around us right now. So
Awesome. A question about working there. Somebody posted, would you recommend working there? Which I think is kind of it'll be interesting to hear your perspectives.
I love it. I think it's very, very fun. To me, it reminds me a lot of being in college, where like everyone lives in a dorm and you all eat lunch in the same place. And there's always something going on. Like you don't have to call your friends and have them come over. They're just right there. That's super fun. It can also get a little challenging because these are the only people you see for months on end. So I know sometimes it does get difficult because people get annoyed at people and you can't really go anywhere. We're all in the same building unless you want to walk outside at -40 degrees. So I like it, but I'm also only here for a month. I think staying here for a winter would be a very different experience. I think you have to be okay spending some alone time, and being like very chill, lots of people. I think those are skills definitely necessary to work down here. What do you think?
I agree. It's fun down here, but you can hear me and Elaine sniffling a lot. It's very dry.
So dry.
We have to blow on our nose constantly. And you have to drink a lot of water because it's technically a desert out here, so it's very little humidity. But aside from those hurdles, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. And it is a little hard being so far from family and friends. So there are actually some people down here who are married. So they come together, which I think is kind of fun. And I think that makes it easier as well.
All right. There are some people signing off, and if you do have to sign off, just say goodbye, and also just post your question once. I will get to them. I promise you. This is being recorded, and we'll also share the recording with you for everybody that registered, or if you need to log off early. Yeah, we'll take a few more questions, and then we'll probably wrap up here. But one of them that was there earlier was, how is Beasley doing?
Beasley is great. Oh, this is Beasley. If you've been reading my journals on PolarTREC, you see that I have some friends with me from different institutions. Oh, wait, here's Muldoon from the Chilton Library. Oh, he's under the coat. There he is. And then I also have Dominic the Dom, which is how IceCube detects neutrinos. He's having a great time. I have Lego Explorer, to be named. Kind of looks like me with my camera out here. And then I have Penguinito, the little penguin. And I think Beasley and Muldoon and everyone, they enjoy having each other as company. They like it here. Not too cold for them.
That's awesome. Love
Oh,
it.
and Justin brought a friend as well.
Oh, this is Paddington Bear.
Oh,
He's my friend here.
Yeah, lots of friends here at the South Pole.
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'm glad they're with you. Another question that came up was, did you see the marathon that took place there recently?
Yes, actually. It was like the second day I got here, and the air pressure here is about 10,000. It's like you're at 10,800 feet elevation, which means I'm out of breath walking up the stairs, like still.
It's about 60% normal.
Yeah, we have about 60% of the normal air pressure, so it's kind of hard to breathe. I mean, we're alive, it's okay. But running a marathon 2 days after you get here is not exactly what I'm gonna do. I don't even run marathons in real life, but I did sign up to be a photographer and take pictures of those crazy people. And I think the winner ran it in about 3 hours, 50 minutes. And they got a certificate that says, congratulations, you are a dum-dum, you ran a marathon at the South Pole. But it was fun to watch. There were a lot of people who also like skied a half marathon or a 10K. I participated in the 1K, which was from the station door all the way around to the geographic pole and back. And that was about enough. I was really tired from 1K.
Isn't that amazing what altitude can do? So that kind of related to that was, somebody asked a while back, how far can you travel from the station on land, and roughly what is the radius?
I mean, you could technically just keep going to the coast. We walk about a mile, which is about almost as far as you can see. Well, actually, you can see a lot farther, but yeah, you can see about 5 kilometers, almost 3 miles. But we'll walk about 1 mile to the different buildings and laboratories that are out here. If it's further, we have snowmobiles. So we went out on snowmobiles to check on a few of the ARA locations. But if we need to bring equipment, that's where we drive what's called a piston bully, which is basically like a tractor, like a snow tractor. And you can carry a lot more people and tools. And if you take a snowmobile or piston bully, you actually have to radio so people know you're going out, because even if you are only 3 miles away, but if like a storm comes in or something happens, it gets very dangerous very fast. So you do have to tell people where you're going if you're more than a mile out. But I think the furthest like is called Esso, and that's about 5 miles away. But again, you have to radio and tell someone you're going before you go there.
Okay, you just kind of broke up there, and now we hear you again. I think we're catching up. So another question was, do you have solar panels there?
Yes, there are solar panels, but they're more of a supplemental energy use because we can only use them in the summer when the sun is out and if there's good weather. But it does help offset the extra energy that is used during the summer when there are more people here working. So yes, but not all the time. And it's not like a main reliable source of energy for us.
Okay. Are there doctors there?
Yep, there's a main physician. His name is George, and also a PA, so a physician's assistant. And right now there's actually a dentist doing dental visits for everyone who is going to be here for the winter to make sure they don't need any fillings and everything's good, because they won't see a dentist for a year. But yes, med team, really good. And they have, I would say, pretty good supplies, like what you would find at maybe an urgent care. So they do have like an X-ray machine, but not everything you might need.
Interesting. A question back to the science. How will we use radio emission for finding reverse moon tracks
Muon tracks.
or muon?
That
Sorry.
one's actually a little out of my wheelhouse, unfortunately. So for the neutrino science I work on, I actually focus on the radio emission of the neutrinos itself. I haven't done any research into the reverse muon tracks, so I apologize.
Okay, maybe another scientist that's on might be able to direct that. Yep, Dr. Madsen's online, so maybe he can type in the chat something about that. We're also saying goodbye to ASCS third grade class. Thanks for
My
joining.
Science Center school.
Yeah. Okay. Kind of related to that, there was we have just a few more questions there. Oh, because you guys were sniffing so much and talking about the dryness, Tony wants to know, why aren't there humidifiers?
There actually are. I just scored one from the med bay. They have a limited amount, just because, you know, space. I installed one yesterday and I had the best nap of my life. So if you ever come down to the South Pole, try to get a humidifier. It's very helpful.
Yeah, there are little tips and tricks too. Lots of lotion. You can put like Vaseline on your nose, but it's also something you just kind of deal with.
Yeah.
It's not
All right.
not the worst.
Yeah, so kind of as we're wrapping up here, another question came in from Sarah. She wants to know, is it only American scientists there or other countries represented? Talk about the international culture.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people here from other countries. I mean, the US itself is full of international scientists. So there are a lot of people speaking like Italian or Russian or other languages. German, there's a lot of German people here too. So yes, there are people from other countries, but everyone here is working through a National Science Foundation grant, meaning they're still funded by the US or working with US researchers. So the South Pole is a US station, run station. So
In New Zealand.
I don't think so. Okay. So you have to have special permission if you want to work here from another country or be funded through the US National Science Foundation. But it's still pretty cool culture to be here.
Okay, cool. So Jim is typing, Dr. Madsen is typing in the chat. He said South Pole is only US, not New Zealand. So we got that. And he's also responding to the person that asked about the other question about emissions. All right, well, so I think Judy's getting ready to share some slides, our closing slides for this webinar. And with that, we won't be taking any more questions at the moment, but Feel free to turn on your videos here. Oh, actually, I have to let you all do that. Sorry, that's on me. I'll do that while Judy is sharing the closing slide here. It's just a few things to wrap up our event, showing where you can join us and how you can stay connected with PolarTREC. We do have another expedition going on. Bill Henske is in McMurdo, and he's traveling out to various sites, different camps from there, and he's been posting journals about his expedition. He does have a live event coming up early next week. I don't have the date in my head right now, but you can go to the PolarTREC website, or maybe Judy can type it in the chat in a little bit too. But you are welcome to join that event. It's just like this one, but a totally different side of science, and actually talking about some of the things they've been finding on land. We also have an education list, and we have resources online. Like I mentioned earlier, this event was recorded, so we'll send that out, and I will, yeah, we'll just say thank you to the team for joining us today. So glad the bandwidth mostly cooperated, especially when tell Kit thank you. That was good advice to turn everybody else's video off. And yeah, how long are you staying, Elaine? You said you're trying to travel out tomorrow, or can you kind of wrap up?
I have a flight scheduled tomorrow. It's questionable with the storm coming in, but I'm fine if I stay here a few more days. That's fine. And I should be leaving the ice, as we call it, on January 23rd.
Awesome. And Justin, how long are you staying?
I'm leaving the ice January 31st. So I imagine I'll be leaving the South Pole around January 27th.
Okay. That sounds pretty good. Like you said, they were trying to get everybody out here in the next couple of weeks, so they can start working on winter while the rest of us start going into spring and summer. All right, thank you, team. It was wonderful to chat with you. If you are online, you can stay for a little bit and say thank you and goodbye. And